The rain-slicked streets of Manhattan gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps as I ducked into the corner bodega, my heart pounding like a jackhammer against my ribs. There he was, larger than life on the glossy magazine cover, staring back at me from the rack. Lucas Hale, the tech mogul who'd built an empire on apps that promised connection but delivered isolation. His chiseled jaw set in that trademark smirk that once made my knees weak. But it wasn't the cover that gutted me. It was the kid beside him in the candid shot, a lanky teenager with the same piercing blue eyes and unruly dark curls, arms slung casually over Lucas's shoulder like they shared blood, not just a pose. I dropped the coffee I'd come for, the cup exploding on the linoleum in a hot, bitter spray that soaked my sneakers. "Benjamin," the clerk's voice cut through the haze, but I was already bolting out the door, the magazine clutched in my fist like a grenade. 10 years. 10 goddamn years since he'd whispered, "I love you," into my ear on that fire escape in Brooklyn, only to vanish like smoke the next dawn, leaving me with nothing but a ghost and a lifetime of what-ifs. And now this proof that while I'd been scraping by as a barista in Queens, he'd been playing house with some mini-me who looked like he'd been cloned from our stolen weekends. I stumbled into the downpour, the city blurring into a watercolor of neon and regret. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably my sister checking in, the one who'd pieced me back together after the fallout. But I ignored it, hailing a cab with a wild wave. Central Park West. I barked at the driver, my voice cracking like cheap thunder. As the cab lurched forward, I flipped open the magazine, devouring the article with the ferocity of a man starved. Hail Air. The billionaire's secret son steps into the spotlight. Son. The word hit like a sucker punch. Lucas had a kid? With who? And why did the boy, Ethan, the caption said, look like a carbon copy of the Lucas I'd loved at 25, back when we were invincible and the world was ours to burn. The cab dropped me at the park's edge, and I wandered in like a zombie, the rain mixing with tears I hadn't shed in years. We used to come here, Lucas and I, back when his startup was just a laptop in his cramped Williamsburg loft and I was the aspiring playwright crashing on friends' couches. He'd drag me to the Bethesda fountain at midnight, feeding me lines from Sondheim like they were gospel, his fingers tracing patterns on my palm that promised forever. You're my muse, Ben, he'd say, voice low and gravelly, the kind that vibrated straight to your soul. Without you, this city's just concrete and chaos, but forever's a lie told in the dark. It started unraveling the night of his big investor pitch. Champagne flowing like rivers in that Soho penthouse. Suits and skirts swirling around us like sharks. I'd shown up in my best thrift store blazer, proud as hell, but Lucas pulled me aside mid-toast, his eyes darting like cornered prey. Not here, Ben. Not now. His hand on my arm was a vice, thumb pressing into the bruise from our last rough tumble in the sheets. Marks I wore like badges, but to him, suddenly, like scarlet letters. I laughed it off then, chalking it up to nerves, but the seed was planted. Over the next weeks, the calls grew sparse, texts turning cryptic, busy with the board. Miss you. I'd wait up in my shoebox apartment, scripting scenes in my head where he'd burst through the door, sweep me off my feet, and we'd laugh about how far we'd come. Instead, the silence stretched, a chasm widening with every unanswered voicemail. Until that final night, fire escape creaking under our weight, his breath hot against my neck. I can't do this anymore, he'd said, not looking at me, staring out at the skyline like it held the answers. The world's not ready for us, Ben. And neither am I. He left that morning, Suitcases packed before the sun cracked the horizon. A note on the kitchen counter, "You're the best part of me. Don't hate me for choosing survival." Survival. As if loving me was a death sentence. I tore the place apart. Shards of his favorite mug, the one we'd painted at that kitschy fair in Coney Island, scattering like my dreams. My sister found me there, curled on the floor, and hauled me to her place in Jersey, where I rebuilt from the ashes. Community theater gigs, a string of forgettable dates, therapy sessions that peeled back layers until I could look in the mirror without shattering. Now, a decade later, here I was, 35 and frayed at the edges, chasing ghosts in the rain. The magazine burned in my hand as I sank onto a bench near the fountain, the water's murmur mocking me with its endless loop. Ethan Hale, 16 going on 17. The article gushed, prodigy coder, already interning at his dad's firm, the spitting image of Lucas in his youth. No mention of a mother, just vague allusions to a private family matter. Private. That was Lucas's specialty. Walls higher than his skyscrapers, secrets stacked like poker chips. A jogger splashed past, headphones blasting something upbeat, and for a split second, I envied the oblivion. What if I just walked away, let the past rot where it belonged? But the hook was set too deep. I pulled out my phone, fingers trembling as I typed Lucas Hale contact into the search bar. His foundation site popped up first. Philanthropy for Queer Youth. Of all things. Irony or atonement, the hypocrisy twisted in my gut like a knife. There was an event tomorrow, gala at the Met, black tie fundraiser. Tickets sold out, but a quick scroll revealed a volunteer list. My name was still on some old mailing list. A few clicks, and I was in as event support. Sleep was a joke that night, my mind replaying reels of us. Stolen kisses in dive bars off the L train. Lazy Sundays tangled in Egyptian cotton. He'd splurged on with his first real paycheck. The way he'd hum Defying Gravity off-key while I cooked pasta in his kitchen. By dawn, I was nursing black coffee in my cramped Queens walk-up, staring at the tux I'd rented for a play that never panned out. It smelled of mothballs and regret, but it'd do. If this was closure, I'd chase it in pinstripes. The Met loomed like a gilded trap as I flashed my volunteer badge, weaving through velvet ropes and crystal chandeliers. Waiters in crisp whites darted like fireflies, trays laden with caviar and champagne flutes that cost more than my rent. I stuck to the shadows, manning a coat check station near the Egyptian wing, heart hammering every time a laugh echoed too close to his timbre. Then, like fate's cruel punchline, there he was, Lucas Hale, striding in with Ethan at his side, both in bespoke Tom Ford that screamed old money. Lucas hadn't aged a day. Same broad shoulders, same easy command of the room, silver threading his temples like deliberate highlights. But Ethan. God, Ethan was a time machine, all gangly limbs and shy smiles, the kind Lucas used to flash when pitching wild ideas over late-night takeout. They paused near the coat check, Ethan shrugging off his wool overcoat, revealing a suit that hung a touch too loose. "Dad, this place is insane," he muttered, voice cracking on the edge of manhood. "Dad." The word landed like shrapnel. Lucas ruffled his hair, a gesture so tender it stole my breath. "You'll get used to it, kid. Just smile and nod, works every time." I handed back the coat, our eyes locking over the hanger. Time fractured. His pupils dilated, that old spark flickering before shutters slammed down. "Benjamin," he breathed, barely audible over the string quartet's swell. Ethan glanced up, curiosity sharpening those familiar blues. "You know this guy, Dad?" Lucas's jaw tightened, hand hovering like he might reach out or push away. "Old friend," he said, voice steady as steel. From another life, the gala swirled on, a vortex of small talk and schmoozing, but I was adrift in the undertow, Lucas's words echoing like a bad remix in my skull. Old friend. From another life. As if 10 years could be distilled to a footnote. As if the nights we'd carved our initials into the oak of that fire escape were just a footnote in his glossy biography. I excused myself from the coat check, badge clipped to my lapel like a scarlet and melted into the crowd, trailing them at a distance, part stalker, part masochist. Ethan was the revelation, all awkward charm and unfiltered questions, peppering Lucas with barbs about the stuffy rich folks, while sneaking glances at the sarcophagi like they held state secrets. Lucas fielded them with that patented patience, the one he'd once reserved for my dramatic monologues, but now laced with a father's weariness. They paused at a donor photo op, Lucas's arm around Ethan's shoulders, flashes popping like gunfire. I hovered in the periphery, nursing a pilfered flute of sparkling water, the bubbles biting my tongue. Flashback clawed its way in then, unbidden, pulling me under the surface. It was summer 15, the air thick with humidity and possibility, Lucas's loft a sauna of ambition. We'd just come back from a weekend upstate, his first real escape from the grind, a cabin by a lake where we skinny dipped at dawn and made love on a dock that creaked like our futures. He was 27, all fire and focus, coding marathons fueled by my bad diner coffee and worse poetry slams. "You're the only one who gets it, Ben," he'd said that night, sweat slicked and spent, tracing the constellation of freckles across my chest. "This city's a beast. It chews up dreamers. But with you, I feel like I could conquer it." I believed him. God, how I believed him. We were the outliers in a sea of straight-laced tech bros, him, the golden boy from a Connecticut trust fund who'd come out at 18 and never looked back. Me, the kid from Ohio trailer parks who'd fled to Broadway dreams and found drag nights instead. Our love was a rebellion, raw and unapologetic, fists clenched against the world that whispered freak behind our backs. But the pitch changed everything. That Soho night, investors circling like vultures, Lucas in his element, pitching Hail Connect as the app to bridge divides, human to human. I'd watched from the fringes, beaming, until his whisper in the hallway, "Not here." The after-party was a blur of backslaps and business cards, Lucas orbiting the room like a planet, me the forgotten moon. By 2 a.m., we tumbled into a cab, his head on my shoulder, the city lights streaking past like shooting stars. "We did it, Ben. They're in full funding." His kiss was victory sweet, tasting of scotch and sweat. Back at the loft, we celebrated properly. Clothes shed in a trail from door to bed, bodies colliding with the urgency of survivors. He pinned me down, breath ragged, murmuring promises against my skin. "Marry me. Someday." When the dust settles, I came undone with his name on my lips, the world narrowing to the press of him inside me, the rhythm of us against the headboard's tattoo. Dawn brought the hangover, metaphorical and literal. Lucas was up before me, pacing the kitchen in boxers, phone glued to his ear. "Yeah, board meeting at 10. Tell them I'm all in." He hung up, saw me in the doorway, and crossed the room in 2 strides, pulling me into a hug that smelled of last night's cologne. "Morning, Muse," but his eyes were distant, scanning emails over my shoulder. the cracks spiderwebbed from there. Late nights at the office stretched into all-nighters. Networking dinners with venture capitalists whose wives eyed me like an exotic pet. I text miss your voice, and get back miss you more. Rain check. Rain checks piled up like unpaid bills. One night, I cornered him in the loft, fresh from a rehearsal where the director had called my script queer enough for Sundance, straight enough for the heartland. What's going on? Luke, you're slipping away. He deflated, sinking onto the couch, head in hands. It's the pressure, Ben. The board, they want me polished, presentable. No scandals. His gaze flicked to me, loaded. And us. We're a headline waiting to happen. Tech titans tryst tanks tender. I recoiled, heat rising like bile. So what? I'm the dirty secret? After everything, the fight escalated. Words weaponized. My accusations of cowardice. His defenses of pragmatism. He grabbed my wrist, too hard, leaving fingerprints, and yanked me close. I love you. Damn it. But love doesn't pay the bills or build the future. We made up in the fury. Sex as salve. Rough edges smoothed in the dark. His apologies gasped into my collarbone. But the bruise lingered, purple bloom on my skin and soul. Back in the Met's glow, the memory soured the air. Lucas and Ethan had moved to the cocktail hour, the boy charming a cluster of socialites with tales of hackathons and viral memes. Lucas caught my eye across the room, a magnetic pull that hadn't faded. He excused himself, weaving through the throng until he was inches away. Cologne, the same sandalwood blend, hitting me like a drug. Ben, he said again, softer, the room fading to static. Close. The lines around his eyes told stories I hadn't read. Fatigue, maybe fear. You look incredible. I barked a laugh, brittle as autumn leaves. Save the charm. Hail. What's with the kid? Your private family matter? His face shuddered, glancing back at Ethan. Not here. Please. The old plea, wrapped in velvet. But I wasn't that broken boy anymore. Then where? Your penthouse? The fire escape. My voice rose, drawing glances. He grabbed my elbow, gentle this time, and steered me toward a side alcove, the Egyptian artifacts looming like silent judges. Ethan's. He's mine, Lucas confessed, leaning against a pillar, defeat etching his features. Adopted, 5 years ago. After you. The floor tilted. After me? What the hell does that mean? He scrubbed a hand over his face, the mogul mask cracking. The fallout, Ben. When I left, it wrecked me. Therapy, rehabs, I was a ghost. The board threatened to pull funding if I didn't get my shit together. So I did, closeted myself, dated women for the cameras, built the empire on lies. But it was empty. Then I met this agency, kids in the system. Ethan was 8, all fire and questions, looking at me like I could be his anchor. I saw myself in him. Our future, maybe, if I'd been braver. Tears pricked, hot and unwelcome. And me? Just collateral. No. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing my lip, a ghost of touches past. You were the casualty I couldn't forgive myself for. I thought distance would heal us both. The quartet struck up, somewhere over the rainbow, ironic as a slap. Ethan appeared then, tugging Lucas's sleeve. Dad, they want a photo. His eyes landed on me, praising. You're the coat guy, right? Cool ink. He nodded at the faded script tattoo on my forearm. Defy Gravity, inked the week after Lucas left. Yeah, I managed, throat tight. Cool kid. As they walked away, Lucas's gaze lingered, promise or a plea. I slipped out into the night, the city air a slap of reality. Back in Queens, I poured a whiskey neat, the magazine splayed open like an autopsy. Ethan smiled up from the pages, innocent as a fresh script. What now? Confront? Fade? The playwright in me itched for Act 2. But the man who'd loved Lucas Hale knew better. Some stories end in tragedy, not triumph. Sleep evaded again, dreams splicing past and present. Lucas's laugh merging with Ethan's, our fire escape morphing into a courtroom where I testified against the man who'd broken me. Dawn found me at the kitchen table, pen in hand, scribbling fragments, a play about abandoned loves and borrowed sons. By noon, I had a title, echoes, and a resolve. If closure was a gala ghost, I'd haunt him back. The week blurred into a fever dream of rehearsals and revisions, my play taking shape like scar tissue over old wounds. Echoes poured out in a torrent, a queer playwright haunted by his ex's shadow, a prodigy son bridging the gap between regret and redemption. My theater troupe in Astoria ate it up. The director, a wiry dyke named Carla with a nose for drama, slapping my back after the first read-through. This one's gonna gut Ben. Raw as hell, raw. That's what Lucas had always called me, back when our arguments ended in make-up sex that left us bruised and blissful. But now, raw meant vulnerability weaponized. Every line a shiv aimed at the heart I'd locked away. I threw myself into it, dodging the itch to call him, to demand answers over burnt diner toast like old times. Instead, I stalked his digital footprint, LinkedIn posts about Hale Foundation grants for LGBTQ+ startups, Instagram reels of Ethan at robotics fairs, Lucas's arm a proud bracket around him. No wife, no partner, just the two of them, a fortress of found family. The conflict crested on a Thursday, rain lashing my window like accusations. My phone lit up with an unknown number, Manhattan area code. I answered on the third ring, voice steady. Benjamin Reyes. Ben. Lucas. No preamble, just my name like a prayer. Can we talk? Coffee. Neutral ground. I hesitated, pulse thundering. Neutral ground in this city? Every corner held our ghosts. Fine. The old spot, Lupane Quotidian on Bleecker. Noon. He was there when I arrived, tucked in the back booth. 2 lattes steaming like peace offerings. No suit today, just jeans and a Henley that hugged his chest, the fabric worn soft from wear. He looked smaller without the armor. I shadowed like he'd aged a decade in days. Thanks for coming, he started, pushing a cup my way. Ethan doesn't know about you. Not the details. The latte burned my tongue. A welcome distraction. Details like how you ghosted your boyfriend to climb the ladder? Yeah. Spare the kid the trauma. He winced. Deservedly. It wasn't like that. Or, fuck, maybe it was. The board found out about us. Some intern snapped a photo at that after-party, us too close in the hallway. They sat me down the next week. Clean it up, or we walk. Panicked. Ben. I was 27, terrified of losing everything I'd bled for. And I was expendable? The words sliced, fresh as the day he'd left. No, he reached across, fingers grazing mine, electric, forbidden. I yanked back, but the current lingered. You were everything. That's why it hurt so much to choose. I told myself it'd be temporary, build the company, Come out stronger. Sweep you off your feet with a ring and a penthouse. But the lies snowballed. Fake dates. Press releases painting me as the straight arrow savior. By the time Ethan came along, I was buried so deep, digging out felt impossible. I leaned in, voice low venom. Bullshit. You could have called. Once. Let me know you were alive. I tried. His eyes glistened. First crack in the facade. Voicemails I deleted at 3 a.m. Letters burned in the sink. You deserved better than my mess. The cafe buzzed around us. Hipsters tapping laptops. Baristas calling orders. But we were in a bubble. Time folding back on itself. I remembered the betrayal's bloom. Weeks turning to months. Friends staging interventions. My sister smuggling me onto a bus to Ohio for perspective. I clawed back, scripting one acts about fractured hearts. But the hole Lucas left was a black hole, sucking light from every yes that followed. Tell me about him, I said finally, deflecting. Ethan. Why's he your mini-me? Lucas's face softened, a father's glow cutting the gloom. He's not blood, but he's mine in every way that counts. Foster system chewed him up, abusive home, bounced around. When I saw his file, that photo, those eyes, that defiance, it was like staring at my own kid self, the one who came out to mom and dad at prom and got disowned for it. He pulled out his phone, swiping to a candid. Ethan mid-laugh at a beach bonfire, waves crashing behind. We adopted 2 years later. He's out, proud, dates boys, girls, whoever makes him light up. I swore I'd give him what I didn't have, a dad who doesn't hide, jealousy twisted, sharp and unbidden. Lucky him. Must be nice. Playing redemption arc. It's not play. Lucas's voice cracked, hand fisting on the table. Every day, I see you in him, the fire, the words. He's writing code poetry, for Christ's sake. And every night, I wonder what our life could have been. You and me, maybe a family. The what-if hung heavy, a noose of nostalgia. I stood abruptly, chair scraping. Don't. You don't get to rewrite the ending. Outside, the rain had eased to mist, bleaker streets slick and shimmering. He followed, catching my arm under the awning. Ben. Wait. I never stopped. Save it. I whirled, raindrops catching in my lashes. You abandoned love for ambition. Own that. But as I stormed away, his plea trailed. What if I want to fix it? Fix it. The words haunted my subway ride home, rattling with the rails. That night, echoes evolved, the ex not a villain, but a man fractured by fear, the sun a bridge of fragile hope. Carla called it layered, but I knew the truth. It was therapy in ink, purging the poison. The betrayal's echo peaked 2 nights later. A package arriving at my door. No return address, just a manila envelope thick with promise. Inside, a flash drive and a note in Lucas's scrawl. Watch this. Then decide. Heart slamming. Plugged it in. The laptop screen blooming to life. Home videos, unedited and raw. The first, us at 25, clumsy on that upstate dock, splashing like idiots. Lucas's voiceover narrating a mock documentary. The day the playwright conquered the tech bro. Laughter bubbled. Mine high and unscarred. His deep and adoring. Cut to loft montages. Me typing furiously. Him debugging code beside me. Feet tangled under the table. Then darker cuts, post-pitch arguments. My tears. His apologies whispered in the shower steam. The final file gutted me. A solo clip, Lucas alone in a sterile boardroom, post-adoption papers signed, Ethan asleep in his lap off-screen. "Ben," he said to the camera, voice wrecked, "if you're seeing this, it's because I finally manned up. I lied to the world, but not to you. I never stopped loving you. Ethan's my second chance, but you're my first. If there's any grace left, meet us at the fountain. Midnight. Let me try." Tears streamed, hot tracks down my cheeks. Betrayal, yes, but laced with a love that hadn't died, just hibernated in the cold. The clock ticked toward 12. Do or die. Midnight found me at Bethesda Terrace, the fountain's angel poised in eternal spray, moonlight gilding the water like liquid silver. Central Park was a hush of shadows and secrets, the city's hum a distant lullaby. I come straight from the laptop, no time for armor, just jeans, a hoodie, and the raw edge of resolve. Lucas was there, silhouette against the ripples, Ethan beside him in a beanie pulled low, hands shoved in pockets. They turned as one, twin sets of blue eyes piercing the dark. "Ben." Lucas stepped forward, tentative, like approaching a skittish deer. Ethan hung back, praising, the boy from the magazine Now Flesh and Curiosity. I nodded, throat dry. Watched the drive. Twice. Lucas exhaled, a ghost of relief. And it's a start. My gaze shifted to Ethan, who rocked on his heels, mist curling around his sneakers. "Hey. I'm Ben." "Ethan." He extended a hand, grip firm, calloused from keyboards or skateboards, I couldn't tell. But close. The resemblance was eerie. Same tilt to the smile, same furrow in the brow when pondering. "Dad says you're a writer." "Like, real stuff. Try and dot." I shrugged, the casual deflection a shield. "Plays about messy lives." "Cool." He grinned, boyish and unguarded. "I code stories, apps that branch like choose your own adventures." "Dad hates spoilers." Lucas chuckled, low and fond, but tension threaded it. "He gets that from you, Ben." The narrative brain. The air thickened, unspoken histories pressing in. We walked, a triad in the gloom, Lucas in the middle, bridging with small talk about the weather, the Mets' latest slump. Ethan peppered questions about my Ohio roots, the drag shows I'd emceed in college, and I answered, disarmed by his ease. He was Lucas unpolished, queer without apology, dating a non-binary artist from his school, dreaming of Silicon Valley startups that actually help people, not just mine data. As we looped toward the ramble, the path narrowing, Ethan darted ahead, chasing fireflies or ghosts. Lucas and I lagged, the silence a live wire. "He's incredible," I admitted, watching the boy vanish around a bend. "You did good." "We did." Lucas stopped, turning to face me, the fountain's glow haloing his profile. "Because of you. That fire escape night I lied about survival. It was fear, pure and selfish. I thought if I hid us, I'd protect you from the fallout. But I just broke us both." The confession hung, ripe for rage or release. I chose truth. It shattered me. Luke. Therapy, rebounds, burying myself in scripts just to breathe. But I rebuilt. Stronger, maybe. Queerer. He reached, fingers lacing mine, warm, steady. "I'm proud of you." Always was. His thumb stroked my knuckle, a Morse code of memory. "Pull me closer." The message begged, but I held ground. And now, the empire's yours. Ethan's thriving. What's this? Guilt trip or sequel? Redemption. His voice dropped. Intimate. I want you in our lives. Not as a ghost, but real. Coffee dates with Ethan. Late nights scripting code and scenes. If you'll have us. The offer dangled. A lifeline laced with thorns. Before I could answer, Ethan's shout echoed. Guys, check this out. Pulling us forward. He stood at a clearing, pointing to a graffiti wall. Fresh tags in vibrant spray. Love wins in rainbow arcs. Hearts intertwined. Street art therapy, he quipped. Dad drags me here when he's brooding. Lucas flushed. Caught. We lingered. The wall a canvas of defiance. And Ethan launched into a story, his first crush. A boy at foster camp who'd taught him to kiss under the stars. Dad freaked at first. Thought he had to protect me. But then he showed me your old emails. Wait. Shit. Was that you? My blood iced. Emails? Lucas paled. Ben. You kept them. Shock morphed to fury. The bubble bursting. All this time, playing Saint Dad, but hoarding scraps of me like contraband. Ethan backed up, eyes wide. I didn't mean. Dad said they were his inspiration files, poems and stuff. Thought it was just writing prompts. It was you, Lucas pleaded, stepping between. Your words kept me sane. I read them to Ethan when he had nightmares. Anonymized, stories of brave hearts defying odds. Betrayal's sequel. Not abandonment, but possession. You turned our love into bedtime fables? Without asking. I was wrong. Lucas's hands rose, placating. Again. But it wasn't exploitation, it was survival. Your voice in the dark. Ethan interjected, voice small. Is this why Dad gets weird around old photos? The old friend from the gala. The air crackled. Truths colliding. Lucas nodded, defeated. Yeah, kid. Ben's more than that. He was my heart. Once. Was. Ethan's gaze bounced between us. Dawning. Dude, that's epic. Like a rom-com, but with more angst. I laughed, surprising myself, hysterical, healing. Kid's got a point, but the hurt lingered, a bruise under the humor. I need time. Luke. This us. It's a plot twist I didn't script. He nodded, eyes glistening. Take it. We're not going anywhere. We parted at the park's edge. Ethan hugging me impulsively, lean and earnest, smelling of teen cologne and possibility. Write us in. Yeah. The good ending. As I cabbed home, the city a smear of lights. The high crashed into hollow. Echo's rehearsals loomed. Carla texting edits. But my mind replayed the graffiti. Love wins. Did it? Or was victory in the trying? The next days were a whirlwind. Work shifts blending with script tweaks. Ethan's number slipped into my phone with a winking emoji from Lucas. Texts trickled. Ethan says hi. Made your spaghetti tonight, burnt the garlic. I replied sparingly. Testing waters. Tell him to add chili next time. Heat's the secret. Crescendo built subtly. A storm front rolling in. Carla announced a staged reading at a queer-lit festival in Brooklyn. Invites flying to donors, including Hale Foundation. Conflict of interest? She teased. I shrugged it off, but nerves jangled. Lucas showed. Front row with Ethan. Their applause thunderous post-curtain. Backstage. Amid hugs and high-fives, he pulled me into the green room, door clicking shut. You poured your soul out there, he murmured, backing me against the vanity. mirrors multiplying our reflection. Proud doesn't cover it. Heat flared, old chemistry igniting. It's fiction, I lied, breath hitching as his hand settled on my hip. Is it? His lips brushed my temple, a question and caress. Ethan knocked then. Dad? Ice cream run, diffusing the charge, but the spark smoldered. That night, alone, I cracked a text to Lucas, your place? For old times. His reply instant, doors open. Always. The penthouse was a revelation. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline. Minimalist chic softened by Ethan's chaos. Gaming consoles. Dog-eared comics. He was out. Sleepover. Lucas explained, leading me to the master suite. No words needed. We collided like comets. Clothes shedding in a frenzy. Bodies remembering rhythms long dormant. He was gentler now. Reverent. Kisses trailing my scars. Whispers of sorry and love against my skin. We crested together. Tangled and trembling. The city witnessing our reclaiming. Dawn brought coffee and clarity. Ethan bursting in with pancakes and questions. So, you're official now? Gross, but cute. Lucas laughed, pulling me close. Working on it, but as we ate, his phone buzzed. A board alert. Crisis brewing. The Empire called. Ever the third wheel. The idol shattered mid-morning. Lucas's face paling over the email. Leak. Old photos surfacing, the hallway shot. Plus more. Boards in meltdown. Ethan's fork clattered. Eyes wide. The gay stuff? Or the you and Ben stuff? Both, Lucas muttered, pacing the marble expanse. Some hacks shopping them to page 6. If it drops, sponsors bolt. Stock tanks. I froze, syrup turning to ash in my mouth. Our photos? From 10 years ago. He nodded, grim. And recent ones, last night's gala, us talking. Someone's connecting dots. Panic clawed. Not for me. The barista with nothing to lose. But for them, Ethan's school whispers. Lucas's carefully curated normalcy crumbling. What now? Deny? Sue? Fight? Ethan's voice cut clear. Fist clenched. Dad, you've built this on half-truths. Time to own it all. The boy, man in miniature, spoke volumes, echoing the defiance I'd scripted into echoes. Lucas sank onto the stool, head bowed. You're right. But the cost. I took his hand. Steady. We pay it together. Or not at all. The day devolved into war room. Lawyers on speed dial. PR spins drafted then scrapped. By afternoon, the story broke, headlines screaming tech titans closeted past. Billionaire dad's queer scandal rocks empire. Photos flooded feeds. Us young and tangled at a pride after-party. My arm around his waist. The gala glance, charged with subtext. Twitter X. Whatever ignited. Camps forming. Cancel hail versus. Love is love hail. Ethan fielded texts from friends. It's cool, right? You're bi-iconic. With shrugs and smirks. But Lucas unraveled, pacing like a caged lion. I could have buried this forever, he growled, slamming a fist on the counter. Protected you both. Protected, I snapped. The dam breaking. You mean controlled? This isn't betrayal, it's liberation. Face it, Luke. The world's ready, even if your board isn't. He whirled, eyes blazing. And if they pull the plug, Ethan loses college funds. The foundation folds. Kids like him get nothing. Ethan stood then, voice steel. Then we rebuild. like you taught me from foster scraps to family. Ben's right. Hiding's what broke you before. The room stilled, Lucas deflating under the weight of love's truth. He pulled Ethan into a hug, fierce and founding, then turned to me, tears carving tracks. How do you two do that? See through my bullshit. Practice, I said, joining the huddle, arms encircling them both. And love. The kind that defies gravity. The high tide of crisis crested that evening. Emergency board call. Lucas on speaker in the living room. Skyline stormy beyond glass. Gentlemen, he began, voice resonant. The leak's out. And so am I fully. Benjamin Reyes isn't a scandal. He's my past, present, maybe future. Ethan's my son, queer and proud. He'll connect bridges divides? Time we lived it. Murmurs rippled. Then a gruff voice, the chairman. Risky, hail. But ballsy. We're in if you lead authentic. Relief crashed. Whoops echoing off walls. Champagne popped. Non-alcoholic for Ethan, and we toasted on the terrace. City lights winking approval. To echoes, Ethan proposed. Clinking glasses. Turning pain to plot twists. Later, as Ethan crashed early, buzzed on victory, Lucas and I slipped to the bedroom, the world outside a spectator. Lovemaking this time was unhurried, exploratory, mapping new territories on familiar skin, his fingers spelling sorry in braille along my spine, my lips charting forgiveness on his throat. Marry me, he whispered post-climax, spent and sincere, ring box materializing from the nightstand, platinum band etched with defy. I traced the script, heart full. Yes, but on our terms, no closets, no compromises. Deal. Dawn painted us gold, tangled and true. Epilogue unfolded in fragments. Echoes premiered off-Broadway to raves. Lucas in the producer's seat. Ethan stage managing with flair. The leak? It boosted Hail Connect downloads 300%. Users flooding forums with coming out stories. We moved Ethan into a brownstone in Brooklyn. Space for all three. Fire escape intact for memories. One autumn eve. Back at the fountain. Ethan snapped a photo. Us three. Arms linked. Golden leaves confetti. Frame it, he bossed. Already plotting his app, a queer family tree. Branching infinite. Love, turned out, wasn't abandoned but evolved, kinder, fiercer, American as apple pie with a rainbow twist. We defied. We echoed. We won.